All right, everyone, welcome back again. This is Thriving Through Chaos, Conflict, and Crisis, our weekly briefing where we bring to you the best of what's going on in our chaotic world throughout this chaotic time, this chaotic climate that we're going through. Those of you that are new here, I welcome you in. Thank you for coming in and checking out what it is that we're doing. For those of you that are returning, welcome back again. Last week, we spoke about the GDP to CPI ratio. Take a look at that. You can find that back on our website at www.gritrust.com. I'm Robert Napolitano. I'm going to be your host today. I've been in the real estate and banking industry since 1998. I've touched over $1 billion in mortgage debt, whether it was trading, originating, transferring, selling, modifying. I've done it all in the real estate banking industry. I want to talk about the climate and the chaos and the crisis that we're in the midst of in our investment community and in the world in general. Macro geopolitical issues, domestic conflicts and chaos and crisis here in the U.S., some natural cycles that we go through, whether it be debt cycles, real estate cycles, business cycles, economic cycles, layer them all on top. And then, of course, technology. All these dynamics can create complexity, confusion. And so the reason why I do these briefings every week is to bring some clarity, some vision, and cut through the noise so that I can deliver some confidence and some clarity to you so that you can further protect your legacy. That's why we're here today. This is a very important topic because what we're being told out there is not the real picture of what's going on. Financial professionals today will only deliver 30% of the available resources for you to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. Why is that important? It's all about the money and getting that money freedom. And these 70% of financial professionals that are out there that are not feeding you all of the right information for you to thrive, for you to be empowered. That's a pet peeve I have, and that's what I'm here to combat. And I'm going to deliver to you real fact, real data, and then a way to get educated, because you always have to be educated on this stuff in order to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. So we're very big on educating. We're very big on giving real information and what we really need to look at. So without further ado, today's topic I want to talk about is a poll that I put out this week on LinkedIn. As a matter of fact, I put it out on. And the poll came back and I asked, what was the most important things that are weighing on people's minds today? And the three choices were the high prices, the high debt that we're carrying in this country on the government, consumer, and the corporate side. And the third one was our leadership. And fourth was all of the above. Well, the results came back with all of the above being 58%. We're following up right behind that with 28% of our leadership. So what does that tell us? That tells me two things. Number one, a majority of people are very confused that they couldn't tell which was more important to them. High prices, debt, or leadership, those three choices. And I did that purposely to see if there was a lot of confusion out there. And I want to give people the chance to voice their opinions. And it came back that most people thought all three and couldn't pick at least one. And those that could pick one, the highest voting was on government leadership. So what does that tell us? It tells us that there's a lot that's going on in our lives that is affecting our lives that we have no control over, that we need our leadership to listen to us, to listen to where our pain, where our suffering is, so they can make the right changes so that we can all prosper. And they're not listening. They're not listening. They're not listening. So that means we have to take some of this into our own hands. While mainstream media will tell us, well, inflation is, curbing off. And they also talk about the Fed. The Fed is going to, raise rates, lower rates, but they don't tell you why and what effect that has on us and what we can do about that. If rates come down, what does that mean for us? If rates continue to go up or stay stagnant, what does that mean for us? It doesn't mean anything by them telling us that. This chart I look at, this is the amount of money that troubled banks are tapping into the Fed, meaning this. There's a ton of troubled banks out there. And when they are in trouble, they need to go to mommy and daddy to get more money to bail them out. Well, who's their mommy and daddy? Is the Fed, the central banking. Why is that important? Because the core of all of our inflation, the core of all of our financial burden in prices, in gas prices, in eggs, and insurance, and our resources, all of that stuff is all affected by this line right here. But the more that the Fed prints, the more that the Fed bails out, not you, bails out the banks, the more that they watch out for themselves, the more it's going to cost you. And so this is a line of how much money these banks have gone to mommy and daddy Fed central banking to go back for. And that number's just gone up. And it's going to continue to go up. So that means that your burden and your pain and pricing and agony and the financial struggle is going to continue. So we need to have other options. We need to understand how do we get beyond that. More importantly than that, our next generation of children needs to understand this as well. Because while we have things and tools we can do today, there's something like $114 trillion that's going to get transferred to the next generation of young adults. Are they prepared to manage that? They're not. They need to get educated. They need to understand this stuff. And that's why we do these briefings every week. It just has a little bit of a snippet of what goes on to week to week to week. We need to get more education on this moving forward as well. Here's what the Fed, this is their report. They do a weekly report on this. It's called the Bank Term Funding Program. Okay, so as of November 30th, the total outstanding of all the advances under that program was $114 trillion. See, our mainstream media talks about, well, we're indebted, the government's in debt for $33 trillion. Yeah, that's a problem. Here's a bigger problem. The banks are calling on mommy and daddy central banking for $114 trillion, and that number continues to go up. But I love the bottom line, the last line says that the board continues to expect that the bank term funding problem will not result in losses to the Federal Reserve. See, it didn't say that it won't result in losses. It said there's no losses to the Federal Reserve. Well, where do the losses go then? This is what they don't tell you. If you look at the last line of the first paragraph there, the Department of Treasury is providing $25 billion as credit protection to the reserve banks. What does that mean? That means you and I, citizen taxpayer, involuntarily raised our hand and said, we got you. You're going to fail, Mr. Bank? No problem. I've got plenty more money in my pocket that I can fill your reserves because you know what? You deserve it. That's what's going on. These are involuntary taxes that we don't vote for, that they don't tell you about. This will increase inflation, and when these losses occur, it's going to hit the Treasury, which means they'll have to raise taxes, they'll have to print more money, and all that is going to trickle down onto us. There are things we can do in spite of our poor leadership where we can personally move ahead to get our security, to get our freedom of money, to get our freedom of time, to get our freedom of purpose, and to get our freedom of relationships. We can do things. And 70% of the professionals out there are not delivering the things you can do. They're not delivering it. That's why you need to be educated on what else is out there. What's the other piece out there that's available for you because no one's going to do it except for you. I'm going to continue to do this every week. I'll be here doing this stuff. And I will bring up new topics. I will bring up new points of view. But we need to be informed so that we could effectively, in protecting our legacy, protecting our next generation, and more importantly, is taking advantage of the opportunities that this chaos and conflict will produce. Because there's definitely going to be opportunities here, a ton of opportunities. We see them all the time. So you want to be educated on these, on how this works. You want to take advantage of the opportunities that are there. And you really want to question your financial professional. See if they're telling you about this stuff. But whether they do or they don't, I'll be here on a weekly basis. And every Tuesday at 1 o'clock, I'll bring you some more information. We're going to stay here for about 10 or 15 minutes. So for today, that's all we're going to talk about today. So I appreciate everybody coming out, and we will see you the next time. Thanks for stopping by.